Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is. I'm glad you're here. I thought I would do a little thing on some junk mail envelopes today. So, because I was thinking we're gonna need some interesting and fun things to add to our grungy journal, but also we still have that bag journal we need to work on. It's kind of off to the side, hanging out, being very pretty and colorful. So we need to get back to work on that as well. So I'm gonna make the same type of pocket, but in a couple different ways. And then that'll also give you a really good idea of what you can do for some variation in technique to make one thing work for different styles, if that makes sense. So first off, you're gonna need some envelopes, junk mail envelopes. I grabbed a few from my little bin. So first of all, some of these are cut down, but you can see this was, well, I guess these weren't together, but they were similar. It was a similar style envelope. So I cut them into pieces so I could have windows, because we're gonna need something a little smaller for our grungy journal, and then something a little bigger for our little bag journal. So that's what these ones are for. And then I wanted to show a couple plain ones in case you don't have windows. So first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get these stained up. So that is the first part of this, is adding a little bit of stain and color so we have a fun background to work with. So first off, let me grab my spray box and then we will get going. All right, so here's the envelopes that we're going to use for the bag journal. And I didn't show this, but this is why I wanted to use this one. It has a really interesting texture on it, so I wanted to see what we're going to get. We're going to end up covering up some of this other stuff anyway, so I'm not overly worried. But I think I'm going to leave the flap on this one as well, because I think we could make kind of a little flappy envelope. That'll be a little bit of a variation for these guys. So let's go ahead. We need some purple and some pink. We're just gonna hit these guys to kind of start getting them some other pretty color. Okay, so and a little bit of purple. All right, so those friends are good. And then let's give a little spritz here and there so we can get some of that oxidation going. Now I'm gonna set these guys off to the side to dry. I should have got myself a little thing to set them on, but I didn't, so they're just gonna go over here. And then we'll put our other ones in to try and see if we can't make them a little grungy. And I should have done this first. I was thinking I would rub a little bit of ground espresso on a few of them too. So maybe we can just do this a little. Grunge them up a little. I'm mostly focused on this area because we're gonna cut this one down. Same with this. We are not gonna be using the whole thing either. And I don't care if they tear a little bit or whatever, because once again, this is for our grungy journal. And then this guy, see, that's really cool. Love that. Let's get this flap a little too. And that side even, maybe. And then this one. Okay. All right, so that is just ground espresso. And now let's go ahead, and we've got some hickory smoke. That is here. And then a little gathered twigs. And then a tiny bit of aged mahogany, just for a little bit of a different tone. Oh, well, that was not a tiny bit, but here we are. It's the lane we live in, right? And now we are gonna hit them with a little bit of water too. Because I really want some good action happening here. And maybe a couple really big drips. And then these are gonna have to dry. So we're gonna let these dry. And then we will come back and see what we have happening. And then we'll be able to wipe off these little windows and stuff too. And even if they are like a little shadowed, it's gonna be fine. Gonna be fine, because once again, these are for our grungy journal. So we might even grunge them up a little bit more once we go on to next steps. So that is where we are starting. Thinking if I want anything else added to these guys before they go off to dry. I think that is good. So we'll leave it there and we will come on back. So our friends are dry here. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next step. So like I said, this wasn't gonna dry. So we're just gonna wipe it off a little bit. And I'm okay if it leaves kind of a little bit of smudge in there. It's gonna make it pretty. So they're sprayed, they're dried. Now we're just gonna move on to the next step here really quick. And that is putting some lining in the inside of these pockets, because we are going to stitch around them, which you don't have to do if you don't have a sewing machine or don't like that look. That is fine. I think I wanna have this one a little bit less. See how easy it is to just wipe off there? And just kind of zhuzh it. So that's nice. Actually, I think, do we wanna leave this one or not? Let's clean our window a little more. Clean, clean. All right, so those are done. Now, this one is ready to go. We don't need to put any lining in this. We're just gonna sew this with the sewing machine, so that one's set. This one, because it's going to have a closure, we're gonna have this be a closure. First, I am going to nip our corners a little bit here quick with my scissors. Let's see what's going to be the easiest here. I'm going to go like that. And this is going to be difficult because this was rounded, so we'll see what we get here. Hopefully we can get it to kind of match. That's not bad. That'll work. And then nip this guy like so. Okay. And then that's going to be like that. But we don't need to line this, but we are going to put a little closure on it. So I have this little circle that's going to go about right there. And I want to mark that like so. Because since this is going in a pocket and I'm going to use a brad, I'm going to put a little piece of tape on the back side of it to just make sure that whatever we put in the pocket isn't going to get caught on our brad. Okay, and this is just a little brad with a button design on it. go. Oh, I was gonna ink that. Oh well, that's fine. So now I want to put a sturdy piece of tape on that. Do I have a really good sturdy piece? Yes, this is good stuff. I'm still gonna put some glue on it anyway, just in case. Where's my glue stick? Fiddlesticks, it's up at the house. Okay, we'll use this one. My son did not have school yesterday because it was too cold. So I grabbed my tray of stuff and because it was really too cold for him to even be down here in the shed while I was working. So I grabbed a tray of stuff to take up to work on up in the house instead of being down here in this cold shed. I have a space heater on my feet because it is cold in here. Got the long underwear on. Okay, so then that goes, I didn't even check to make sure that was centered. It is what it is. It is what it is. So there's our little closure on that. That is definitely not centered. Oh well, we'll make it look more centered when we decorate this in the future. All right, so that's ready to be sewn on the sewing machine too. Now these two friends, we need to put a lining in them really quick. So this one, and I just looked through our scraps that we have left over from this project, our bag journal, and I'm just going to do this. Kind of quick measure, quick tear, and then that's going to get put inside. So just glue stick for our lining. It's just easier to put these linings in before you do the sewing part. If you're doing the sewing part, you certainly do not have to do the sewing part if that's not your jam. But since we have this open and easy, we might as well. This is going to be a little fiddly. I like to kind of curl these a little bit when I put them in and slide them in as fast as you can, trying not to get that sticky everywhere, but it is pretty difficult sometimes, especially when it decides to do its own thing. And hopefully I got it past there. Yep, it's wonky. Is she wonky donkey? Try again. Get it slid. There we go. Now I got it. Now it's in. Pinch, pull, push, and a smushy smush. Probably could have used a brighter color in that background. That's okay, because we're going to end up putting something in this pocket anyway. So then that one is ready to go. And I've got one more to put on this one. And I just grabbed this because I thought that would be fun to peek out of that. Inside there. So we're going to stick that in there. So these are going to be, they're just kind of simple pockets. They're very similar to some of the other pockets that I've made with junk mail. Just wanted to show a little bit of a different style, give you guys some ideas on how you can change up what you're working on, look at different colors to see how you can utilize things a little bit different. I think it's fun to see a contrast sometimes too. All right, so that I think is really in there. Got sticky all over my hand. All right, and that one's good. Now, our other little friends, so those are ready to go to the sewing machine. So then now let's go ahead and do these guys. They should be ready to go too and all dry. All right, this one is good to go. We don't need to do anything to that. So that one we're going to set off to the side. These are a little bit damp yet, but that's okay. This one is good to go. Oh, that one's definitely wet, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and get that closure and everything on there. I'm going to leave this guy ratty tatty because it's for our grungy journal. So in fact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some more of that off of there. Do I want to put a closure on this guy? I think I do. I think I do kind of want to make it a fun envelope here. So I'm gonna try and just round that corner to look like the other one. So maybe we can line it up and do a rounded corner instead. Yeah. Let's see if we can get this one more centered than we did the other one. Hey, that'd be great. Be a good idea. All right, so this one is going to be a little different. I have this larger tag, or it's a tag, but we're going to do something different with it. We're going to put it upside down. I know that looks weird, but there's a reason. Down a little, because I want to utilize that hole to have like a little charm or something. I think that right there, because it just needs to tuck into the top a little bit. So are we centered? Pretty centered. All right, so we're gonna go through this guy in the center, through that guy, not poke our fingies. And then I have these fuzzy brads. I have a couple of these that are hanging out. So we're gonna use this little fuzzy guy here to put in this one. Just grabbing what I got, seeing what is fun. Should have inked the, oh, we're not stuck down. Let's ink it. Let's ink it. Ink, ink. Because it's a little too nice. You know what? Can we get a little more from this? Haha, we can. How about this one? Yes, yes, butter, better, better, better. Okay, that goes in there. That goes in there. Turn it around so the hole is pointing down. And then this is gonna go in here. That needs to dry a little bit for sure. That's gonna have to dry before I put the tape on the back of it, which is fine. Okay, these guys. Now, this one, we're only making about this big. So we only need to line this little bit in here. This hash pattern would look fine, but I would rather use something that looks a little bit more old and vintage. So we're gonna put this guy in here, like so. And it's brittle paper, so that's fine. And give it some glue. Be gentle, be gentle. Because this stuff is fragile, it works great for collaging and adding into places like this. If it tears, it's fine, because this is for our Grundy journal. So let's see if we can get this lined up in the window. Yes. Okay. Great. Fabulous. And we got those numbers on there. What happened here? A little bit. Okay, so that one is good to go. Then we're going to zip it around with the sewing machine. In fact, before we do that, we are going to tear off these edges. So we're going to do there. Might need to go in a little bit more. Maybe about there. So I'm going to tear them. Probably could have waited until after I sewed it, but that is okay. So we're just making a small pocket with this little friend. That's better. Perfect. Okay, so, and then we can use these for some like little corner tucks or something. So that one's ready to be sewn. Now this guy, it's super easy to put stuff in here. We are going to go ahead. Now, which orientation are we going to want to do this? I think we will go up and down. And I'm going to do this one a little different because this paper is super fragile. I'm going to put the glue on the inside since I have that option. This paper is super fragile. It will tear as soon as I start trying to glue it at all. So we're just going to do it this way. So this is going to go here. This is from a very old German poetry book that I have. I love it because the paper is so pretty and grungy and old and distressed. And that looks amazing. And then we are going to sew this guy down as well. We are also going to trim this pocket a little bit. So first off, I'm going to tear this off. Maybe. There's that. And that. So that is good. And then I think maybe about there. Like my very specific measuring today. That's okay. All right, and then we can use that stuff for something else too. Okay, so these I'm going to take to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew around them. I might even do the top of this flap since I can. So I might sew around the whole, all of this. I'll do this top part, close it, and then go around. Same with this one as well. So once these are dry, I'm going to let them dry a little bit more before we move on. Okay, I will come back with them sewn. Back from the sewing machine. So here is what we did. For this one, I just did kind of crazy wonky stitches just on the side. So this will be for our bag journal. So will this. So same thing, I just did a simple zigzag just around the edge of that one. Now you can just glue these, you can just leave them too. That's about it. So this one, I started with some zigzag, did some straight, switched back to zigzag and straight again. That one's ready to go. Here is our little pocket that closes. And this one, I left it open so I could do that flap too. And then that can tuck right back underneath there with its little closure. So these are all ready to go. We'll decorate these when we work in the bag journal some more so we can make it go with our pages. So we have some bases to use. And here we go. So here's this little pocket. Since these were open, I stitched the flap first before I ended up sewing it down. And I did the straight and then the zigzag and straight and zigzag to give it kind of a little bit more of a wonky feel. Here is this one with its little flap. Same thing, didn't do all the same. Made it wobbly on purpose, which is harder for me to do because I'm at the sewing machine. You're supposed to sew stuff straight. So making it a little more wonky is a little hard for me sometimes. Years of making things straight will do that to you. And same way with this one, I actually sewed the back and the front since this was open all the way before I sewed it closed. So we did the same there. And then this fun little pocket here too. So this is all ready to go into our grungy little journal. So grungy journal, these ones for our bag journal. And so that's it. That's what I got for these little pockets. I hope this was a valuable little tutorial. Showing another way to kind of use up junk mail envelopes, stuff like that. And I think the next video I'm going to do is some things to go in the pockets to kind of go with the theme of our journal. So maybe I'll just do one for here and then show these, or vice versa. Or I'll work on these when it comes time to do our grungy journal. Not sure, but I think what I'll do is I have an idea for some really interesting journaling cards or like tuck-ins for these guys. That I was inspired by when I was on Instagram the other day. So I want to try something a little different to make some things to go into these guys. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions, comments, want to see something different. This is the same as other stuff, you know, and it is like some of the stuff is really similar to what other junk journalers do. It really is. And it might be something you've already done before. But let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Get some new tips. Hope you guys are sharing all that jazz. And don't forget, art with your heart. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.